Well, thank you so much, and I am coming to you from Entebbe, to be specific, here at the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center at the Floating Restaurant, where, of course, the Four Reefs Africa Climate Summit that is happening currently, which is the second. And of course, they are talking about climate adoption and resilience to achieve SDGs. And of course, the conversation is quite intense, having many delegates coming through to discuss climate and its related effects. But of course, we want to just dive into the conversation and pick some of the insights that are yet to be discussed and those that have already been discussed from the president of Four Reefs, that is Socrates Mugabe, to just paint for us a picture of what really this whole summit is about and what do you want to discuss in relation to climate. Thank you much for joining me on NTV.
Yeah, thank you very much, NTV. We are here at the second Four Reefs Summit, which is hosted in Uganda, but in Entebbe. And we are having many delegates from different countries of Africa, and we are focusing on adoption and resilience towards achieving the SDG. But one of the SDG we are looking at is the climate action. We are looking at how to strengthen, to finance, and also support many communities and also inspire individuals to be able to realize that climate change is real, but also to be able to catch up with what we call the Four Revolution. And Four Revolution stands for the revolutions which are going to shape Africa, where we are looking at the water, we are also looking at energy, we are looking at the circular economy and the renewable energy. So today the stakeholders which are attending from different countries of Africa are coming here to discuss, but also to make a declaration at the end of the summit. What do we want to achieve? Where do we need to get funding? How do we integrate the market into what we do? So we are grateful that today we have been able to have different discussion and panel focusing on how Africa must take up a stand or must elect itself to endeavor that there is a climate action resilience in.
Okay. We know the climate-related issues are quite immense or intense, I can say, global and looking to. But what are some of the immediate maybe actions you'd want to take in as far as how you want to address this?
Yeah. For example, here in Entebbe, why we are in Entebbe? Because Entebbe has been one of the municipality or one of the areas suffering. We've known we have gotten floods, but also we have people who are settling in swamps, forgetting that this is an ecosystem which supports humanity, but also it supports the nature. So we are looking at also how do we make people to understand that they can live, but also nature can be left to live and let also nature live. So we are ensuring that we get the policy makers, most of the councillor and the mayor who have been here, to know that we need to conserve, we need to ensure that we protect the areas, the gazetted areas which are dying away, which are being encroached here in Entebbe. But we are also looking at how do we integrate sustainability. For example, we know that climate change has been left to donors, has been left to volunteers and others. But we have also realized that waste can be turned into wealth. We have seen how people are making trash boxes, how people are making out of fecal, out of waste, they are making some good products like manure, but also we are getting the worms which are being used to feed the chickens.
I was coming to that point because plastic is one of the things that are talked about quite often coming through in the conversations, and the approach towards this in as far as how you're going. I know it's part of the discussions that you're going to have.
Yeah, it's part of the discussion. We know that
actually we are on the lake, which is often or many times also been depleted, the plastics in it and the rest.
Yeah, exactly. We are on the lake and we know what plastic has caused, and we know that the ecosystem where the fish and other aquatic animals and also aquatic living things are able to feed, nowadays they can't because plastic has been thrown everywhere. As we know that over 500 tons of plastic are disposed of every day in Uganda, but then there is no vigilance, there is no policy, and there is no political will to see how are we curbing this. So we have come at UWEC to see that we can be able to integrate. We see water, we see the lake, but also to call upon people to be able to start initiative which can pick plastic out of water, out of the lake shower, and even recycle them. So today it's a great opportunity that all the stakeholders are agreeing that we have to do something.
Okay, for time reasons, Socrates, you will let me leave the conversation here, but I also speak to one of the ambassadors, the Mistin Echo, who is the ambassador, of course, for this. But I want you to give your insights on how you think young people can also join this whole campaign to, restore the ecosystem that we live with. We'll start with your name.
Thank you. My name is Nasuna Melan, and I'm the reigning Miss Tineko Uganda 2024 to 2025.
You'll speak up, please. But how can young people also participate in this conversation? What do you think needs to be done to involve young people in restoring the ecosystem or the environment?
Okay, earlier today I advocated for a door-to-door.
You'll speak up, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Earlier today I advocated for a door-to-door interaction because not many young people actually cherish summits, so they would prefer to have something like a face-to-face conversation where you're going to explain to them each and every detail about conservation and the benefits of conservation. So I feel like having a face-to-face conversation with them, having a face-to-face conversation with them will make it more interactive and it will push them better to conserve the environment.
Okay, for time reasons, I also let the conversation end there, but also thank you so much for attending this and picking the information to fellow young people.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, of course, it's an insightful conversation, of course, when you're speaking about, the environment, the ecosystem and the rest, climate change that revolves around that. You're talking about the whole world, I can say, because this is a global cause and everybody has to take part and have an input, I can say. But the conversations are quite insightful, also around to keep tabs and see what transpires so that we can let our audience know about this. Good morning.
All right, thank you so much, Ivan. Now, you do have the Uganda Wildlife Conservation and Education Center that is conducting increased awareness when it comes to campaigns on environmental protection, and this is alongside wildlife conservation efforts. As the world is celebrating the International Day of Zoo and Aquarium Educators, we do have updates that are coming in from Entebbe Zoo.
Voices that protect the wild animals, but also increasing awareness amongst young people. Where I'm standing currently, of course, there is a team of young people. If somebody can get to see, these are some of the young people that have been taking a walk around, being educated and given information about the wild animals that are kept here in the zoo. But more voices, of course, that still advocate that communities need to embrace the fact that they coexist with the wildlife. But I just want to walk around and speak to the young people who have been walking around the zoo to just tell us what is exactly they've been seeing in the zoo, and you tell me your name and where you have been walking, what animals you have been able to see. What's your name?
My name is Joseph Obiosomo Chinedu.
Yes, you've been walking around the zoo. Which animals have you been able to see?
We've been able to see the leopards, the lions, the African grey parrots, yes, peacocks, Ugandan cranes, and many more.
Okay. So what have you learned from the zoo when you've come here as a school?
What we've learned from the zoo, we've learned how to conserve waste in the environment. Yes. We've also learned specific facts about animals and what their features do in their habitats.
Yes. So how are you going to implement that in your home, your school? Yes.
It can help us to be careful around animals and remember they have feelings too.
Okay. You also get it. Which school are you from?
Entebbe Junior.
Oh, Entebbe Junior. What's your name?
My name is Yeson Kuvas Argilios. I'm from Greece.
So what have you been able to see and learn from the zoo?
We have been seeing leopards, lions, African grey parrots, peacocks, the Ugandan crested cranes, the shoebill storks, the Egyptian cobras, the Gaboon vipers, and many more.
Okay, so what information have you got from here that will make you protect the environment?
We have gotten some information about recycling, like how you can use rhino poop to make paper. Yes.
Okay, so when you are going back to school, what are you taking back from here? What are you going to tell the rest of your other friends at school?
I'm going to tell them to continue recycling, and when they find any piece of trash at home, they should find any way to use it responsibly.
Okay. But also what I forgot to tell you is that there is a book which has been launched, if you can carry it up. This book has been launched. It's called Zoo Stories. Now, this book has been made in the way that there are stories that are made or written about the wild animals that are kept here in the zoo. And these are specifically for young learners, of course, to pick interest. And in case you have a child that wants to read stories about animals, you can borrow one copy from here. But I just want to speak to the big brains behind all of this. I just want to speak to the Chief Warden of the Uganda Wildlife Education and Conservation Center to just give us a perspective of really what has been happening here, and he will tell us why specifically celebrating this day and what it really entails to a big population of animals that are always being rescued to this facility. And with me is Mr. David Musingo. Welcome with Modern TV.
Yes, thank you, Ivan. My name is David Musingo, the Chief Warden of UWEC Conservation Area.
First of all, I want you to make us understand, what does this day mean to you, UWEC, zoo educators across the world, in as far as how it's being celebrated?
It's a very important day, especially us who are educators. It's to reflect on what we have done, how we have impacted on the zoos and aquarium, and what plans do we have in terms of creating awareness, in terms of imparting knowledge and skills. So this day is very important. It's designated for educators.
Yes. You have involved the children. I can see that they have been taking a tour around, getting to see many other wild animals and also teaching them about them. But how did you feel this was important?
It's very important because we have got many young children who have joined us. But the most important thing is that we have launched a book. This book has stories about animals that have suffered in the hands of human beings, like the elephants, like the cheetahs, like the rhinos. So the book is a very interesting book, which has emotional stories about wildlife, and that's the reason why we are here. Apart from the book, we have also participated in other activities, including tree planting. We have also done waste management. So there are a lot of activities that we have done.
You have often increased the number of animals, the numbers have increased of animals being rescued. That indicates that there is still a wildlife conflict, I can say, with the host communities and the rest. But how can we zero this down, maybe?
What I know, that the land has remained the same, but the population of humans, Ugandans, is increasing. This challenge will always be with us. Which means also people, maybe it means that people are aware that we are playing a key role. That's why they are bringing animals. Otherwise, maybe in the past, people used to eat animals. We could not get them here. Now we have created awareness, and we are happy that we are receiving calls from all over the country, and we have got a rescue van. Wherever they call us, we respond promptly.
So and that's how these books, are they going to be found only at UWEC, or even some schools can take?
We are going to distribute them to schools so that these young people can read and then appreciate nature, appreciate wildlife, because they have emotional stories.
Okay.
Yes.
For time reasons, Mr. David Musingo, I want to thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me also speak to some of the people that participated in writing this book. And here is the gentleman to tell us his name, but also you tell us what is contained in that book that you think somebody who as a child has got to buy that book and make them read.
Well, my name is Emmanuel Mukisa, and I'm a conservation educator here. I must say this is an opportunity for us to reach out to these hearts and touch them. You know, as UWEC, we focus mostly on the young generation because it's a sustainable way of imparting knowledge. So we have written this book that has especially stories of animals that have come here, courtesy of issues in the wild there. We're all much aware of issues like human-wildlife conflicts, illegal wildlife trade, poaching, habitat destruction. So all these animals have been suffering this, and now we have brought them here. Now, many people don't know how these animals come about here. Some people think we have animals to just impress people, but we have these animals to save them from death. For instance, when you read this book, you are going to read about the famous elephant, the first of its kind to be hand-raised in Uganda. This elephant is called Charlie Hamukungu, and we are going to be reading more about her, how she came to the center, at what age. Imagine at 2 weeks. Now, an elephant can breastfeed up to about 5 years. Then after 2 weeks, it was only heading to death. But now here comes UWEC that give it an opportunity to live. We have cheetahs that came here as kittens. Now we gave them an opportunity to also go back to life. We have the rhinos that they were all extinct in the country. And eventually we had them. We are trying to regain their population and also creating awareness. So this book is going to be a fundamental of imparting knowledge in the younger generation, but also supporting communities that are having issues of human-wildlife conflicts and all those issues that are facing wildlife.
Okay, for time reasons, we'll end the conversation here, but thank you so much for really making time to speak to us.
Pleasure having you.
All. Of course, it's an insightful conversation. Like I earlier said, this is the International Day of Zoo and Aquaria Educators that is being celebrated, but also this time involving the young people into this, and many have been taken through what really happens here, the animals that have been rescued and brought to this facility. Information on protecting the environment has also been given, and that's partly what we call information Passover. We hope this will be important to them. For time reasons, allow me to get the conversation back to the studio. Very good morning.